You think you picked your motorcycle for the specs, the horsepower number, the seat height, the color that caught your eye at the dealership. That is not what actually happened. Underneath every one of those practical reasons, there was a need doing the choosing that had nothing to do with horsepower at all. Researchers who study decision-making have a name for this: post-purchase rationalization. The logical story gets built after the choice is already made, not before it. There are 7 distinct psychological types riding motorcycles right now, and almost nobody can tell you which one they actually are until someone spells it out for them. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which type explains you. Type 7 explains a kind of rider almost everyone assumes they already understand, and almost nobody actually does. Stick around for that one.
Type 1, Sport or Supersport, the precision rider. Sport and Supersport riders lean hard into corners other people would brake for. Full leathers, chin near the tank, eyes already reading the next turn before this one is even finished. From the outside, it looks like recklessness. It usually is not. Researchers who study flow, the mental state where focus becomes almost effortless and self-consciousness briefly disappears, found something unexpected in riders who chase this kind of intensity. The exact moment that would make most people panic is the moment their thinking gets sharper, not foggier. Their senses turn up, not down. That does not make every risky pass a smart one, but it does mean this rider's brain works differently under pressure than most people assume. Ask them where their limit sits on any given road, and they can usually tell you almost to the inch, down to the specific corner. That kind of precision does not come from carelessness. It comes from paying very close attention to risk for a very long time in a way most people never bother to. They're not chasing danger for its own sake. They're chasing the one state where they feel completely switched on, a feeling most people only get a taste of a few times in their entire life. Type 2, ADV, the Explorer rider. ADV riders load the bike before it is even needed. Extra fuel, a small toolkit, a GPS pointed at roads that are not fully paved. The trip is not planned so much as loosely aimed. Psychologists who study openness to experience, one of the most consistent personality traits researchers track, have found that people high in it actively seek out unfamiliar situations, not despite the uncertainty, but because of it. Discomfort to this rider is not a warning sign, it's information. This is not someone running from a stable life, it's someone who needs regular proof that they can handle whatever shows up around the next bend, on their own, without a plan B waiting in the wings. Ask them about their favorite trip, and it's rarely the destination they mention first. It's the moment something went wrong, far from help, and they figured it out completely alone. The map was never really about the roads. It's about how much of the unknown they're willing to sit with. That's 2 down. The next type looks nothing like the last one, and yet the 2 of them end up parked side by side at almost every meetup. Type 3, Naked or Street Fighter, the Honesty rider. Naked and Street Fighter bikes skip the fairings. No bodywork hiding the frame, no plastic softening the engine. Everything mechanical sits right there, exposed, doing its job in plain sight. That's not a style accident. Psychologists who study authenticity, how closely someone's outward behavior matches what they actually think and feel, have found that people who score high on it tend to care less about impressing others and more about simply not performing for them. In small talk, in relationships, in almost every part of daily life. This rider picked a bike with nothing to hide because they are not especially interested in hiding much themselves. It can look blunt, even standoffish from a distance. It usually is not. It's someone who finds pretending exhausting, in conversations and in life, and quietly decided years ago to stop doing it, on the bike and off it. Ask them a direct question and you'll get a direct answer, whether or not it's the comfortable one. What you see is what you get. That was never a flaw here. That was always the entire plan. We are not even halfway. The next type is the one writers argue about the most, because almost everyone assumes it means the opposite of what it actually does. Type 4, Retro, Classic, or Scrambler, the Anchor rider. Retro, classic, and scrambler bikes wear a round headlight, kickstart details, a shape that looks like it rolled straight out of a decade that ended before some of these riders were even born. This is not about being behind the times. Researchers who study nostalgia, actual academic research, not just sentimentality, have found it does something specific. It increases people's sense of meaning and their feeling of connection to their own life story, especially during periods of change or uncertainty. It is not an escape from the present, it is a tool for steadying it. For this writer, the old shape is not a costume, it is an anchor. Jobs change, cities change, people move away, and phones and apps get replaced every year whether anyone asked for it or not. This bike is one of the only things in their life that still looks and sounds exactly the way it always did. Ask them why they did not buy something newer or faster, and most will tell you that was never really the point to begin with. They are not stuck in the past, they simply refuse to leave behind the parts of it that still work in a world that seems to throw everything out the moment something newer shows up. Type 5. Dual Sport or Enduro, the Adapter Rider. Dual Sport and Enduro riders run one bike for everything. Pavement in the morning, gravel by afternoon, maybe a fire road nobody bothered to name. This rider never picked a single terrain, and that is not indecision. Psychologists who study cognitive flexibility, the ability to shift strategies the moment circumstances change, consistently link it to better stress management, faster recovery from setbacks, and less anxiety about things not going according to plan. People high in this trait do not panic when the plan changes, they adjust, quietly, and keep moving forward. This rider built that exact trait into their machine. It's not the fastest bike on pavement, and it's not the toughest bike in the dirt, and that's completely fine with them, because being excellent in one single lane was never really the goal. Ask them what kind of riding they do, and the honest answer is usually just whatever shows up that day, wherever the road happens to end. They did not choose a lane, they built a bike that simply doesn't need one. 2 types left, and this next one gets underestimated more than any bike on this list. Type 6. Cruiser, the presence rider. Cruiser riders sit low, feet forward, no hurry anywhere in the posture. From a distance, it can look like the laziest choice on this list. It is almost always the opposite. Psychologists who study savoring, the practice of deliberately slowing down to fully feel a moment instead of rushing past it, have linked it to some of the strongest, most consistent gains in life satisfaction researchers measure. This rider is not behind everyone else, they have simply stopped racing them. For a lot of these riders, that ease was earned, not handed to them. Years of proving something, moving fast, chasing the next promotion or the next thing on the list, and at some point they realized speed was never actually what they were after. Ask them if they would want a quicker bike, and most will genuinely say no. They already spent a long time being that version of themselves. They are not slow because they can't go faster. They're slow because they finally stopped needing to, and most of them will tell you that took longer to figure out than the actual riding did. Type 7. Touring, the long-haul rider. And then there's touring, the type that surprises people the most and the one worth sticking around for. Touring riders pack saddlebags for a week, not an afternoon. They think in days, not miles, and plan meals 2 states ahead. For this rider, the ride is not a break from their life, it has quietly become one of the main ways they live it. Researchers who study grit, sustained effort toward a goal over long stretches of time, have found something that surprises most people. It's the process, not the outcome, that keeps people going the longest. Grit doesn't run on adrenaline, it runs on a quiet, steady kind of satisfaction that builds slowly, mile after mile, day after day. The riders who last the farthest on the road are rarely chasing the destination, they are simply absorbed in the miles themselves. This is the type researchers say gets misread the most. People assume touring riders are running toward somewhere specific, some finish line waiting up ahead, some place that will finally feel like enough. Most are not. Ask one what's next after this particular trip ends, and the honest answer is usually just another trip,
already half planned. For this rider, the road was never leading anywhere in particular, it simply became the way they live. 7 bikes, 7 completely different reasons to ride. Precision, curiosity, honesty, memory, adaptability, presence, endurance. Different starting points, different garages, different roads that got each of them here, but the same simple choice sitting underneath it all, to be out in the open, on something, instead of sitting still inside something. So which one are you? Maybe you already knew before this video started. Maybe one of these 7 just described you a little too accurately, right down to details you didn't expect a stranger on the internet to know. Tell us in the comments which type you landed on, and if there's a story behind the bike you picked, we would genuinely love to hear that too.